Thank you for tuning in to another episode of RIA Collective. I'm your host, Charlie Van Derven. Today we're going a little bit different. If you listen to the show, historically we're interviewing RIAs who have made that breakaway transition and learning from their experience, helping to move this industry more and more independent, where the client relationship is pure and the fiduciary responsibility is true. Today we're going to showcase actually an advisor. I don't think he's practicing, but we'll get to that. But CFP, who has built a company with a partner creating video for advisors. And where this fits into the RIA Collective narrative is we focus on trust, right? And those of you who've listened before, I talk about financial services being the fourth least trusted industry in the US. We're trying to change that narrative and that understanding publicly. The problem is people still think we're stockbrokers. And in fact, the survey that comes from actually calls advisors stockbrokers from 2023. So all the changes in names aren't impacting like I think the industry would like them to. But we're going to focus on trust as a video as a trust accelerator, right? So in this mission to create more trust within the industry, because 99.999% of the advisors I've ever met are doing really great things. Don't get a bad name because the media picks on the wrong things and that sort of thing. Video is an awesome way to increase trust rapidly with a large group of people. And my guest today, Nate Hoskin with SageContent.ai. I should say Nate Hoskin, CFP. Just add to the credibility. Nate's going to talk about the channels he's built and then the channel he builds for other advisors. So, Nate, welcome, man. Thank you for taking some time to be on the podcast.
Charlie, thank you so much for having me. And I will say that I was actually a victim of that trust fallacy for advisors. When
Yeah.
I started my RIA, granted, I was 22 at the time, so we get a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but I was pretty convinced that I needed to overthrow the industry and do this all by myself. I had to make this industry good. And that was the chip on my shoulder that I carried into making content. I just went after everything with a fervor. And it really wasn't until I started Sage that I realized that you're totally right. 99.9% of advisors are doing phenomenal work. And that sense of relief that I had, that I don't have to do this myself, that I can help us grow as a collective, that was a really incredible feeling. And I'm really grateful for it.
Awesome, dude. We got a similar mission.
Oh, absolutely. Build trust at scale. Help
Yeah.
people in as many ways as humanly possible and do so at a scale that allows you to live the lifestyle that you want. That's really what we're after.
Love it. Yeah. Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about content creation and AI, and the platforms are really just flooded with a lot of AI content. So breaking through that noise for authenticity, which I think video is so important for, because while the AI can write a script, it still has to be the advisor representing themselves in that format. Before we get into that, Nate's partner's name is Nick Meyer. Is it Meyer or Myers?
Meyer.
Meyer. Okay, Nick Meyer. So Nate Hoskin and Nick Meyer, co-founders of SageContent.ai. I want you to check out Nate and Nick and follow them specifically on TikTok and Instagram so that you see one of the cool things about the two of you, Nate, is you're not marketers coming to the industry. You're advisors who are like, wait a second, we've hit something here. So when you go check them out on these platforms, you're going to find, you can give me the accurate numbers, but you're going to find a million plus followers of their content. Emulate these guys, right? If you want to get into Instagram and get into TikTok, we're going to talk about YouTube a little bit as well. Emulate what they've done. Take a look at their profile page. How is that set up? Where do they link to for their link tree for scheduling and access to their other social platforms? If you just I like the R&D. I take this, I'm sure it's not, he didn't originate it, but I take this from my buddy Joe Lucas, R&D, rip off and deploy,
Yep.
right?
I love
Yeah.
that.
There's no proprietary anything, right? Just take a look at what Nate and Nick are doing on these platforms and just do what they're doing, right? Right down to the solid background behind your head in the profile picture. Just emulate what they're doing because they're doing it right. Or, of course, we'll get to this part, just hire them and they'll do it for you. So we'll get to Sage a little, talk a little bit about the company, but let's start with cutting through that noise, right? I dripped it out there already, but content and AI. We create content for a lot of advisors. I'm not gonna, I don't need to sugarcoat it. We leverage AI. We should.
Of course.
We should, absolutely. Talk about cutting through that noise and how video is so important in that format.
Yeah. When it comes to AI application, I'm an AI doomer, definitely. Which is funny because I run an AI company. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I think that the way people are using and deploying content in the age of AI is just inherently flawed because there is this belief that it can do everything for them. And Charlie, you and I have both gotten that email from someone that was clearly sent via Claude or sent via ChatGPT. We as humans, we're, pardon my French, we are just bioengineered bullshit detectors. That's how we've stayed alive for so long, is figuring out whether or not someone is trustworthy. And so if we're getting AI slop, we're going to read that immediately. And you know that kind of pit in your stomach you get when you hear that content, when you read that content, you're just like, this doesn't feel real. And so when it comes to video, it is that trust magnifier. It is the way to speak to 10,000, 15,000, 30,000 people for a minute, right? It's like giving a presentation on main stage for a minute and a half, but you get to do it every single day ad infinitum. That's pretty amazing. But I do think that the way that you do that is using AI to allow you to focus on the things that make you genuine and do that at scale. So when we talk about rolling out content and actually bringing it to the masses, that's really what I've been focused on, is that there are certain parts of the process that get in the way, and there are certain parts of the process that are the way. If you mix up which one you apply AI to, you're going to have a really horrible experience rolling this out.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, right? So what gets in the way and what is the way?
Yeah. So the things that get in the way are things like video editing. Video editing is an exceptionally costly thing to do for a firm, for editors, for anyone who's considering doing this. So the application of AI in video editing is the best way to save money, and it's not necessarily going to be the thing that makes or breaks your video. My most viral video is me just sitting in a beanbag chair with a double chin. And yes, it has captions. It has really good lighting. It has really clean cuts. There's no dead air. It is an edited video, but the editing isn't what made it phenomenal, right? So being able to use AI to take that cost down from maybe $50 a video or $150 a video if you're doing like long form YouTube, to be able to bring that down to pennies, great application for AI, right? When we talk about YouTube specifically, your thumbnail and your packaging account for 85% of your video's performance. And so if you can use AI to script out and develop the body of the script, which is still valuable, don't get me wrong, but that's something that really needs to be almost an essay on factual information. That's something that AI is quite good at. If that allows you to reallocate energy to the things that drive success and performance, that's a great thing to do, right? As long as it doesn't detract, as long as you don't have a terrible script. If you can get to a B+ grade script so that you can have an A+ thumbnail and an A+ title and A/B test those, you're going to have a more successful video overall, right? And so thinking about where and when you apply AI, that's the most valuable piece. One of the biggest mistakes I think people make is they just use AI to come up with video ideas. And I can guarantee you are going to have an average video idea if AI gives it to you. It's going to be like what retirees are worried about right now in 2026. And you're like, it sounds just good enough that you might make the mistake of accepting it, when really all of your energy should be allocated to what's the idea, what's the title, what's the thumbnail, and how am I presenting it in the most genuine way. Everything else, you can start to automate, you can start to speed up.
Yeah, cool. Great advice. We recently did a webinar together. So anybody who's interested, you can check out our Social Advisors YouTube channel. It's probably on our website. I don't know where you guys put it, Nate.
Everywhere. It's on our
Everywhere.
website too. You'll find it all over the place.
Yeah, a great conversation. One of the things that you and Nick spoke about was production value. Right. And we are in this, and listen, I'll take a break and scroll Instagram for a little bit. And usually that's the last thing that it's terrible, but it's the last thing I do before I close my eyes is just scrolling through it for 10 minutes. We consume a lot of video content. I don't know, you guys gave a stat, so you can remind me of what that is, but how many videos people consume in 10 seconds or a minute or whatever it was. And we need something to stop the scroll. So I want to speak to that a little bit related to production value, and then we can talk about what an advisor needs from an equipment perspective to really get started.
Yeah, it is a very fun fact that the average person who is scrolling on Instagram or TikTok or any of these scrolling platforms, so Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts, that sort of thing, they will consume an average of 17 videos per minute.
Yeah.
That's a crazy idea that they're just going to scroll, and then land on one and probably watch 40 seconds of that video, but they're still going to get through 17 in that remaining 20 seconds. That means that they are scrolling within 1 second, right? We are fighting for milliseconds here to capture that scroll. And the difference in watch time between 10% watch time, meaning they watch 10% of your video, and 50% watch time is the difference between a 100 view video and a 100,000 view video. It's just crazy what we're competing for in that way. So I think that is a very important part of the process, right? Just to make sure that you are capturing that scroll. Production value makes a big difference there. And I want to clarify that there is a difference between production and post-production. Editing, when I was talking about automating with AI, that is post-production. It doesn't make a massive difference. It matters, right? But once you raise it to a baseline, it has a utility curve, right? It has declining returns. And so production value is the quality of how you appear on camera, right? It is your lighting, it is your audio, it is the visual, it is everything that grabs you immediately, right? So if you look at my background right now, all of this is designed to be high production value without necessarily being over-engineered, right? It doesn't necessarily look like I'm on a movie set, but you notice that everything is well articulated, everything is in the right place.
Yeah, I like your depth of feel and perspective on the plant and the back. What do you think of mine, dude? I put the whiteboard up to seem intelligent. I put the mic in my face to, again, further my IQ. Someone told me if you put a mic in your face, your IQ goes up 15 points. The snowboards, which are something I'm extremely passionate about, has been a huge part of my life. They're also conversation starters. I can't tell you how many people, oh, is that an old Burton? Yep. And then I get to tell a story about, oh, that's my first snowboard. So mine's a little more maybe personal. I don't know. Critique it.
Yeah, no, yours does a phenomenal job of what I would describe as kind of anti-background backgrounds.
Yeah.
So one of the big things now, particularly that Zoom AI is getting so good, is that you can have a background that is fake and it's going to appear relatively real, where people are like, wow, is that a background? And so if you over-engineer your background and it looks so perfectly appointed, people are just going to assume that it's fake.
Yeah.
That's not a real background. So you need one that looks good, right? And yours is a fantastic example of this. You have great conversation starters. You're shooting into a corner. So you have these leading lines that draw to your face. All of those things play a phenomenal role in actually just drawing everything to the subject, which is you, right? And then you have different colors. You have that really nice blue wall that really makes everything pop off of it. All of those reds make great sense. And then you also have way better lighting than I do. So you have a very bright light that's sitting at 3,900 degrees Kelvin. And so that is really separating you nicely from the background, right? You can see totally that you are the subject, you are the main focus of that frame.
Cool. You know what always shocks me is no one has ever asked me about, and of course, if you're listening to this, you're not seeing my background, so check us out on YouTube.
We'll describe it a little bit for
you. No one has ever asked me about this little trophy in the corner.
What is the trophy? I definitely didn't notice it.
Thank you for asking, man. That is because it's a funny story. We were at a pickle fest in our little town of Port Orange, Florida here last year, and they had a pickle eating contest, and I won.
So you won the pickle eating contest.
I won, dude. I won.
That's
5
awesome.
minutes.
Congratulations.
Nine of those big jumbo pickles. Yep. I think the next closest person was 5. After all this social advisors and marketing and stuff was maybe I can do it at the same time. I'm thinking maybe it's the Coney Island hot dog eating contest next.
There you go. That's your content push. We're going to talk about marketing, and I'm going to eat 9 pickles before this call is over.
I love it, dude. All right. Very cool. Let's talk about personal branding a little bit. And then I want to get into Sage Content, how people can get in touch with you. And it is a big hill to climb, starting video production. We've done it with some advisors, Nate. I can tell you it is not freaking easy, right? Getting that attention in a world of a lot of content is not easy. So I know Sage does an awesome job at that. But yeah, let's talk about personal brand a little bit. I know a lot of advisors that hide behind whatever the corporate brand is, or advisors that are like, just throw some out like Great Lakes Financial Management and Like, how important is Nate Hoskin versus Sage Content? How important is Charlie Van Derven versus Social Advisors, RIA Collective?
I'll die on this hill that people follow people, they don't follow brands. And the clarification to be made there is that people follow brands because of people, right? The easiest example is any celebrity selling a beauty line or selling shoes, that kind of thing, right? They're buying Nike shoes, but they're called Jordans. Though that type of thing, you are following and associating value with a brand because you associate value with a person. And in advisory, people like to flip it where it starts with the brand, and then inevitably, the only thing their clients talk about is the person that they work with. I flew out to Minnesota and St. Paul, and I was working with an advisor, and we were doing a bunch of testimonial videos where they invited their clients in, and we had them on camera, and we're doing these amazing production value testimonial videos. And we did 6 different interviews across 6 different families. Not a single family mentioned the name of the firm. Every single one mentioned the name of their advisor that they worked directly with. Joel did a great job for me. Jeff did a great job for me. Matt did a great job for me, right? Not Pine Grove. That was an esoteric idea in their head. The thing they associated all of the value with was their advisor, right? And so we might as well take that association and just make it the first thing. So I'm a firm believer that personal brand is the brand. And the more you can tie the two together, the more you can associate value with yourself by people who respect the brand and vice versa, right? So I also believe that we, at the end of the day, are story-driven creatures, that if we go back to the original mythos of us as humans, like we talked about getting on ships and going where there be dragons, everything we've done is framed in stories, and stories always require a protagonist, right? And so the more you can actually turn yourself into the narrator, and you can narrate the story of the protagonist who is your client, your prospective client, that sort of thing. That is how people frame things in their brain in a way that they remember it well enough to pass it to their kids, right? That's what we do. That's how we pass history forever, is through stories. And so if you want to create quite literally a legacy, you do so through story. You don't do it through salesmanship. You don't do it through the name of the brand, that kind of thing.
I love it. I was going to say, you mean it's not all about sales and call to actions?
You can include a call to action, but the call to action needs to be so small that it just kind of sticks in their brain of like, how do I progress to the next chapter of this story?
Yeah.
That's what the CTA is, right? We're creating a story together, and I'm going to tell you how to turn the page on it.
Yeah. And it falls in line with what we coach advisors, our service offering, and social advisors too, right? With the webinar that we did together, we run that for most of our clients as well, whether they run a monthly webinar, individual, or with a guest like we did. And all of that is done so you don't feel like you've got to be selling in your connection request on LinkedIn or in your email marketing, or be pure, build rapport, build relationship, be truly you. Know that you've got this webinar every month or every quarter, that when the people show up, it means they've resonated with who you are. They're deserving of a follow-up, whether that's email or phone call, depending on your resources. So be pure in everything that you do. Have one point of conversion.
Absolutely. One of the best LinkedIn outreaches I've ever done is I will always produce organic content. I post a huge amount of content on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And so people will naturally engage with that content, and they will comment and say often amazing things, right? We're engaged, we're a part of this story together. And then I will send them a DM, and very quickly I'll just be like, hey, look, I run this company. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't tell you that it existed and that it's really cool and might be able to help you. Would you be interested in having a quick conversation? And that's that frame, right? Hey, you're a part of this story. You engaged with my story, in which you are the protagonist. Here's how we would turn the page and get into the next chapter together.
Yeah. I love it, man. And mine's very much the same too, right? Resource, been at this for a long time. And yeah, totally. All right, let's get into Sage Content a little bit before we wrap here. You guys do amazing work. I've witnessed that firsthand. You've got both of you have a proven track record in doing what you do for yourselves and also other clients. The website is SageContent.ai. Let's talk about the service offering a little bit.
Yeah, our goal is to help advisors scale exactly like we did, right? I added 172 clients to my RIA specifically from video. And Sage Content is just operationalizing all of the things that I was doing manually. So I was writing my own scripts entirely. I had it all organized in a terrible little Notion board that I had custom designed and was just stapling things onto over the course of years. And then I would share access to that Notion board with a video editor that I hired on Fiverr and was paying per video. And I probably went through 17 of them over the course of 3 years because they just weren't quite delivering the things that I needed them to deliver. Or they would go out of business, or they would start working with too many
Yeah.
people and they would scale and suddenly start dropping the ball, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And then I would go in and I would post every single video they delivered to me manually. So I'd post everything on Facebook, I would post everything on YouTube. And only in hindsight did I realize that was a full hour of my day every single day, which is just something that advisors don't have. And so Sage is a software platform that does all of those things at scale so that you can do it in a really intuitive way. And then it plugs in AI into places that are not the way, right? They are in the way. That is writing the actual body of the script, giving you something to be the editor on, to be the analyst on, rather than sitting there saying, how do I glue these words together? What is this supposed to look like? AI editing, both for short form and for long form video, so that you don't have to, frankly, just pay and accept a huge amount of cost to have a human do it. We still have a team of 18 video editors because I'm the stickler. And frankly, I want my video to be perfect. So I always give it to the human editors. But for an advisor who's just kicking off and they have zero budget and they just want to be able to scale this strategy, being able to do so at $250 a month instead of $5,000 a month, that's a very meaningful difference. And so really, when Nick and I designed it, I was actually having a conversation with Jason Wenk, who runs Altruist.
Yeah.
And he was like, where do you guys kind of learn project management? Like, where'd you guys figure out how to do this? You'd never built software before. What does this look like? And we're like, we never really accepted any of the typical software development things. We just were so clear on what we needed as CFPs. I just sold my RIA a couple of weeks ago. So the whole building process was done from the exact perspective of I'm applying this to my RIA. And being so clear on exactly what we needed as individuals, we just built that and told other advisors about it and showed it to them. And they were like, oh, you're right. This is exactly what I need too. There was no perfect product design. There was no product led growth. There weren't any of these like strategies or go to market. It was just, we needed this. You're trying to do the same thing. Chances are you're going to need something similar.
Yeah, dude. I love that you guys come from that perspective, right? So it's not software first, it's practical implementation first. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Cool. Nate, you and Nick are doing a great job. So anybody listening, if you're interested in their services or want to see their story, check out SageContent.ai. They're both very active on LinkedIn. I can speak to that. And you guys are running some ad budget right now too. I see you pop up on Instagram when I'm scrolling.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're doing that omnipresent thing. We're everywhere for you. And if you want to find us on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or anything like that, my tag is net worth Nate, and then Nick's is Nick Talks Money. And so that's probably the easiest way to just take a look at what we were doing, what we were preaching, and how we built these audience that drove such amazing successes for us.
And it's one small example of something to emulate, right? Is one small example of your handle on those platforms is an example of how to structure yourself and really what you turn that personal brand into specifically for those scrolling platforms.
Absolutely. And please, R&D, rip off and deploy. This is public domain. I will teach you exactly how to set up my background image for my profile. Do it.
Yeah. All credit to Joe Lucas for that one, though I'm sure he ripped it off from somewhere else. Nate Hoskin, my friend, you're doing incredible work, dude. It's a pleasure to host you on RIA Collective. And anybody who's listening today, of course, if you got value out of this, share it. Subscribe to the channel so you know when new things come out, and like it and do all that stuff the kids say to do.
Absolutely.
Nate, you've got that down to a T. Mine's always kind of all over the place.
It's like being a flight attendant. Once you say it enough, you kind of just have it memorized.
Yeah. Pretty good. Dude, I appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Thanks so much, Charlie. This was such a pleasure.
Mine too, Nate.